The Otway Rip is a 250-kilometre bikepacking route through beautiful forests and along rugged coastlines, and it might just be the perfect weekend getaway from the busy city of Melbourne. So I've just arrived at Camperdown, which is at the start of the Otway Rip, which is about a 250-kilometre bikepacking route. It's just done for beginners, so I'm just going to crack it out in 2 days. I've just got a super lightweight setup on the bike this time. I've just got my tent, a few cooking bits, and a few other little bits in the other fork bag. And then up top, I've got my sleeping mat, my sleeping bag, and my tent poles. Super lightweight, just taking 2 litres of water. I think it's going to be a pretty horrendous weekend, pretty wet, pretty stinky. So I'm just going to wander out of town on the start of the trail. I think I've got a rail trail to start. And I'm just going to find a bush to set the tent up in because I ain't paying for a campsite. We don't like paying, do we? But yeah, should be a good weekend. Despite the wet weather, I still had that excited feeling of the unknown and what the weekend's adventure might bring me. After spending a year cycling to Australia, it was oddly refreshing to be crawling out my tent, packing it away and hitting the road, all in total isolation. Not a word spoken, no decisions to be made like what I'll wear or where I'll eat, just me and the road again. The simplicity of life on the bike is something that I miss dearly and something that I can crave like nothing else. But for now at least, I'll have to make the most of the time I've got and fill it with shorter adventures to escape the everyday and feed my cravings. The sun made some effort to poke through the clouds, and I was presented a rainbow to give me some hope that there might be a dry afternoon. One of the joys of riding in winter. Oh, it is so wet, honestly. Soaking, and then basically riding down a stream at this point. Bloody hell. Yeah, but good spirits. I'm happy to be out on the bike, out the city, into nature, which is just bloody lovely. But yeah, it's just nice. I'm still on this rail trail. It's not that hard packed, it's pretty loose in fact. But we're doing all right. We're not too heavy, so we're going well. Rail trails are great. I always imagine what life was like when they were thriving, back in their heyday. And not to mention, the easy gradients make for great riding and really quick progress. It wasn't before long that I was heading towards the Great Ocean Road and the Port Campbell National Park. Once I reached Port Campbell, it was time for some lunch, and it was also time to enjoy the winter's sun and stare pensively at the Southern Ocean. The wind had really picked up at this point, blasting me along the coast, but luckily it was behind me, so it was pushing me along nicely. It also meant that the sea had really picked up. It was really rough, crashing into the bottom of the cliffs. It made great viewing. The harsh winter conditions are enough to put most of the tourists off. This is probably the biggest advantage of doing the Otway Rip in the winter, because normally the Great Ocean Road is absolutely heaving, but I think I almost had it to myself. After the stunning Great Ocean Road, I turned myself back inland, towards the Otway Forest and Lathers Hill. The riding had been pretty smooth at this point, but the skies were starting to get a little bit darker and the light was fading.
I'm also just starting the biggest climb of the day. It's going to take me a wee while, but it should be pretty good at the top. And then it's a descent down to the campsite for tonight.
What I didn't know is just how bad the weather was going to get, and that my main headlight was going to break halfway up a grueling climb, leaving me in the dark with just my backup to get me to a good camp spot.
So this is a 6 kilometer ascent, 6k climb, and the track is just completely washed out and it's just mud, slick mud. I passed the sign back there that said it's closed seasonally to vehicles, but yeah, normally it turns out all right. I think this is going to be a bit of a slog to get up.
I was fortunate enough that the pub at the top of Lavers Hill allowed me to stay in their garden in my tent. It was probably the wettest and coldest night that I've had in that tent, and I've been in it a lot. Now I knew what the track conditions were like, and knowing that I was lacking a headlight, I decided to skip the descent and climb up from Joanna Bay. I stayed high up on the hill and headed straight for Hopetoun Falls through the Otway Forest. Surrounded by giant ferns, I turned off the tarmac once again, heading deeper into the forest. I was surrounded by a sea of green, and I could slowly hear the deafening rumble of the waterfall getting louder as I approached the trailhead.
Just locked the bike up there, taking a wee detour to go and look at Hopetoun Falls. They look pretty good. I just caught a glimpse of them from up top and they look massive. Yeah, let's go have a look. This forest is absolutely stunning as well. I just feel so full of joy when I'm in a forest like this. Like, look at these giant ferns just everywhere. Unreal.
There was a quick stop off at the redwood forests before I headed out on the final climb of the trip. It was hard going, but the beautiful forests made for an easy distraction.
I think I've just got to the top of the final descent. Yeah, it's, well, not really the final descent, but the big one, down all the way to forest. There's some mountain bike trails there. I'm hoping the general store is going to be open because I am hungry. I'm hungry. The forest is looking beautiful. The road is beautiful. Yeah, we're doing well. Morale is high. But yeah, beautiful day. Very damp, but very quiet. Not many tourists because of the fact. So we're doing well.
Wet, exhausted and hungry, I rolled into forest to find the general store just closing up. But to my delight, I got offered a free sausage roll along with the one that I purchased. I quickly hoofed them down, considered my train ride home, and got a move on to Colac, because if I missed the next train, I'd be waiting for an hour and a half in the cold, and that simply wasn't an option. So I got back to Melbourne pretty late last night, about 7:30, but all my batteries had died. My phone was dead, the sat nav was dead, everything. But I had a great weekend. To be honest, I've been struggling to settle in a little bit in Melbourne, just finding my feet still, and adjusting after a year on the road cycling down here. So it was just what I needed, a weekend away in the forest, get the head screwed back on, and I just feel so much better for it. The hardest thing was probably deciding to go, even though I knew it was going to be tipping it down with rain. But I had some amazing moments and it was well worth the soggy experience that I had. But yeah, now it's time to sort of strip down the bike, clean everything, and get it ready for the next one. We'll see where I'm going.